Hello everyone, it is Cheryl Millett here, live at 5 Mondays on Facebook. So I just want to say hello to everybody. I hope everybody had a wonderful week. There is really, truly sometimes just so much to share with you all. Not that I'm from the South, but as you can see, I'm from the North. We don't really have the white winter going on right now, but it sure is cold and has been colder here in Toronto. What do I want to talk about today? Well, one of the things that is something that I research on and that I'm still open to getting information on is actually coffee. Coffee is one of those things like of interest to me was what kind of water should we drink? It's a big topic, coffee, because so much of it is being drank around the world. Liters and gallons and, depending on what measurement you use, all around the world, so much coffee. And I've never been a coffee drinker. Part of it not being a coffee drinker was my awareness on the potentials, just the potentials on coffee and what it could be doing to our health. And this would be decades ago. So I just keep my eyes and ears open as to kind of what's going on there. More now that I'm a practitioner, I'll explore and go down those avenues and see what doctors have said, not just in the last year, not just in the last decade, but also in the last 100 years and 200 years. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. Hi, Jennifer. Hello, Anthony. Coffee. Who here drinks coffee? Who doesn't drink coffee these days? There are a number of people that don't drink coffee these days. There have been instances where people told me they were drinking 5-6 coffees a day, and their doctor absolutely said, you've got to stop drinking coffee. And why? Why would they have to stop drinking coffee? Why don't I drink coffee? Why don't I just start with that? Why don't I drink coffee? Because my understanding is coffee is interfering with my nervous system. And it's, I don't know, I've got lots of natural energy, so I've never needed coffee for that. And then if it does things to our nervous system, what does that mean? Well, quite often, if I look on the other side of it, well, what happens when people don't drink coffee? They drink coffee for a while, and then they don't drink coffee. And they will tell you, well, there's withdrawal. Okay, so how do you get withdrawal when you don't have some sort of thing going on in the body? Like, that's where I kind of ask the question. I mean, why is it that when people drink coffee, they get these, in some cases, serious side effects from drinking coffee for 1, 2, or 3 days? Why? That's like my first thing that I used to hear from people decades ago. Well, if I don't drink coffee, if I stop drinking coffee for a few days, I get this massive headache and so forth and so forth. It's like going, okay, so what is that about? Nervous system. The other thing that I kind of learned about, and this is from a practitioner standpoint, was that when people drink coffee, it actually helped them go to the bathroom. So they may say to me, even clients, well, it helps me to go in the morning. And help to go in the morning. Yeah, I mean, we can say that going to the bathroom every morning or once a day is a good thing, as we're talking about bowel movements here. But if you do your research, the toxicity from the colon doesn't get reabsorbed. So I'm understanding, not to say I won't find something else about that, but it is not something. We absorb the water, yes, but we don't reabsorb the toxicity. And that's a whole other conversation for you to understand. Wow, where do you get this toxicity from? So what happens if we end up using coffee to go to the bathroom? Well, if people stop drinking coffee, they don't go. What does that mean? My understanding that if I were to drink coffee and my bowels relied on being agitated from the coffee enough to agitate the colon so that you go to the bathroom, means that creating a lazy colon. I don't want to say that sounds like a very bad thing, although people do have lazy colons and have to take laxatives ongoingly, which is never good in the long run. I could talk about my grandfather, bless him, he died at 101, but some of his issues that he had when he wasn't able to walk as much as he could, but he got reliant on laxatives, not coffee. He wasn't a big coffee drinker, and it made his colon lazy to the point where after 3 weeks of not going, he would end up, my mother would check him into the hospital. And when I had a conversation with him being out there, well, it was like this. Well, do you feel when you need to go? No. How do you know you need to have to go? Well, I just, goes. You might hear some rumbling, but then again, this is the issue he had ongoingly, where he had to check himself into the hospital in order to clean himself out. He didn't know anything about the internal salt water bath and stuff. But back to coffee. So if coffee is causing us to go to the bathroom, but it is actually bypassing a natural peristaltic, which is, again, the contraction. Peristaltic is contracting, not contracting, relaxing, contracting, relaxing, which allowing things to kind of move through. It's that kind of muscles that we want through all of our system, esophagus included, rest of the intestines. We want to keep that movement. So is coffee really good? Is coffee really good for us? It's a question. I was reading something earlier about some research in coffee, and in research they'll say, no, maybe. And one of the things that it was said, and here I just wrote it down, was that the authors concluded that more studies absolutely need to be done. They were talking about how coffee is good for the liver, and that was something there. But I think I mentioned in an earlier one, I was talking to somebody at Toronto Public Health here, and we were talking about, as people in Canada know, we have this whole cannabis thing now, it's legal. And we're talking about it, and I brought up coffee. I said, what about coffee? Coffee is a drug. And she said to me, she goes, yes, we know. Coffee's a drug. So, is it good still to drink 1 cup of coffee? I don't know. I think some people have an issue with coffee. It's just so stimulating for them. They don't even bother drinking anymore. The idea would be, if you find yourself reliant on coffee, you need to ask yourself the question, what is coffee doing for me? Because there's these other things that it's absolutely not doing and not going to be helpful in the long run. And they all refer back to black coffee. So as soon as you add cream, as soon as you add sugar, hi Laura, Tom and Keaton, hi. I think one of the things is if you add cream and sugar to coffee, coffee can really, they've talked about this crystallizing and stuff, but what is coffee? Coffee is a bean that's been highly, roasted, and we learn about roasting, blackening on the barbecue, being carcinogenic. So you have this bean that's been green, which in, Colombia, they would take the green beans and sun dry them on the roof and then make fresh coffee every morning. Okay, well, around the world, that's not what we're primarily doing. We're taking a bean, we're burning it, and then we're putting in water to take that burnt flavor, that roasted flavor, which you get out of a lot of things. That's what caramelization is and stuff like that. So really, what are we drinking? I don't know. Sometimes I imagine people laughing behind the scenes who are making lots of money on coffee, going, what if they're drinking black burnt water with some flavor and so forth. So, one of the things I'll talk about coffee that I, in some of my reading, was that what coffee was used for and to do with shamans way back when. Shamans used it, but they used it to keep awake. So let's just say they had to connect with their higher self. Let's just say their intuitiveness, they are meditating and they have to stay up, and they would have some shots of coffee, and probably black, and probably not 8 ounces or 12 ounces. And they have this when absolutely needed. That's the way they wrote it. When absolutely needed, the coffee was there, and they would, they would do that. So we have this differences of what we think we should be, drinking coffee that the way it was consumed before. Another piece that in writing my book that came to my eyes and reading was about some research that was done 150 years ago, let's say, approximately more than 100 years ago. And this research was done on 1 ounce coffee. And even with 1 ounce of coffee, they noticed that there was changes in blood pressure, changes in, and was a couple other things as well. Nervousness, yeah, that's what it was, that kind of like agitation. And that's with 1 ounce of coffee. So I guess when it comes to coffee, everybody's going to, you're going to make your decision whether or not you want to drink coffee or not. It's not for me to decide for you. But yeah, I'm known as the coffee, not coffee person. And when people talk about coffee and research, quite often I just say, who cares about the research and the level of, who's doing the research? Who is, what are they saying about the research? And I'm going to talk about another little subject here as well. I think a little bit more, it's related to coffee in a sense that some people are taking it every day, and things did change. And this is the aspirin. So aspirin does come from nature, and I'm not quite sure if aspirin that we actually consume or purchase today is identical or in its entirety a natural substance, but many people were taking aspirin, and there was some serious issues with stomach bleeding. And then that's where they started to scale down in the amount of aspirin that people should be taking ongoingly for heart health and so forth. When I did research on aspirin, yes, we can see that there's some benefits of bringing down inflammation through the research, but it causes inflammation in the stomach and the colon. So those are clearly two things. So, choices are for us to decide whether or not do we actually want to take an aspirin that's going to cause stomach issues. Now, if you have bleeding in the stomach, that's not very good. That's where the food is coming in first and foremost. This is where you're going to have germs and bacteria that the stomach is supposed to clean up. And that, that's the key first digestive organ here that, is coming into the system. And that's an important area not to have bleeding. Let me tell you, you do not want to have stomach bleeding. Actually, you don't want to have bleeding anywhere in the digestive system, or outside the body as well, or internal bleeding. You just don't want bleeding. We know that's a big issue, internal bleeding. So aspirin, again, do your research, but similar to coffee, there is the pros they talk about. In this case, research is mostly on the maize. Let's do more research on it. And aspirin, be it, clearly understand that it does cause inflammation in your stomach and your colon, which is your large intestine, all the time. That doesn't change. Aspirin does that. In other areas of the body, they talk about it being anti-inflammatory, but you kind of have to weigh off, take aspirin or not take aspirin, or take it some of the time, or take it when it's needed. Maybe there's initial things that are going on. You're trying to settle some stuff in the body and take it for a part, but be always aware that there could be potential bleeding involved there. So what else is there? Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about today, just kind of bringing in, and that is our feet. So feet is an area of the body that actually detox very well. And so feet, remember when I was doing martial arts and the instructor, I don't know, he was third dan or something like that, it was karate. And he talked about how important it was to take care of our feet, more from a respectful way, which is when we're in the dojo, we're showing our feet. And it was clear the intention was that, other people have to look at your feet. And, well, why not? Why not? If we look at our face, you can think of all the face creams and everything, a part of our body that most people see. There's that part of the body, the feet, that we can easily hide in socks and shoes. But I'm just going to put out a challenge there for people that look at your feet. That's your challenge. Look at your feet. Are you taking care of them? What do they look like? Is there a lot of dryness? There's really simple ways of, soaking the feet and taking that off. The other thing is, looking at your feet can also tell you things. It can also tell you things about your body. I mean, if there's swelling, or if there's, fungal stuff, check out your nails. So by keeping an eye on your feet and looking at your feet, you can see if there are things like that happening. Because if there's, fungus or something like that, then you can work with it. It needs to be worked with. It absolutely needs to be worked with. When diabetics or people with diabetes is probably the more correct way to say it, their feet, looking at their feet is absolutely necessary, because from a health standpoint, they can easily not feel, this is neuropathy, not feel their feet enough to feel that they have these sores forming on their feet. But just as a preventative nature, as getting to know your body, your feet is a place on your body that can actually give you some signs and symptoms. And why not take care of your feet? These are the things that you're walking on, you're needing, hopefully, to walk on for the rest of your life. Why not keep an eye on them and see and be respectful of them? Take care of them, right? There's actually foot doctors. There's actually, in my neighborhood, a foot nurse. And all she does is take care of people's feet because they can't, I know this might sound a little bit crazy, but they can't bend over to take care of their feet, right? They're elderly. There's, this issue with sometimes overweight and obesity where they can't actually look at their feet, never mind take care of their feet. They can't, they can't do that. So I'm just going to encourage everybody, maybe it's a challenge, just look at your feet, see how you're taking care of them, see what they look like. And you wear socks and shoes all the time, you like that, fine, just do it for yourself. And if you do like to want to walk bare feet and do that kind of stuff, which I completely encourage in nature to be in bare feet, then absolutely look after your feet. And maybe there's people out there that don't want to show their feet because they just don't. So therefore they don't choose to go swimming or in water or do certain things because they don't want to. Maybe that's a possibility. So kind of those are the three things I just really wanted to bring up today. There's lots of things. But coffee, again, think about what it's doing for you. What happens when you're off coffee? What happens when you take coffee? The only way people can talk to you in the morning is if you've had your coffee first. Then aspirin, again, be mindful if you're some of the people that have been told to take aspirin every day about the stomach inflammation, colon inflammation, especially if you've got colonitis, or colitis, both the same thing. Colitis, colonitis, inflammation in the colon, stuff like that. If it causes inflammation in the colon, that was new to me. I knew about the stomach thing, but that was new to me. And then your feet, take care of your feet. Oh, there's one other thing I did want to bring up. This came in my awareness, and I'm going to see if I can bring it up here and talk a little bit about it. And this is kind of like an FYI, people. Some people have, maybe haven't, but I think most people have. And, hi Annette, hi cousin. I said to me, yes, Laura, to do with aspirin, ibuprofen would be the other one as well. Acetaminophen, they are similar in that case, but the whole family of ibuprofen is the other one other than aspirin as well. Thank you, Keaton, for your kind words. So this is the last thing I'm going to leave everybody with. And that is, you've heard of 23andme, or the Ancestry, where you're actually donating some of your saliva and finding out where your ancestors came from. I haven't done it, but my whole family has done it. You might not have known this, but this came in my awareness from one of my fellow practitioners. And GSK, I don't know if you know who GSK is, GlaxoSmithKline. It's a pharmaceutical company. And she discovered through somebody that they've actually signed, actually first and foremost, I should say here, that this pharmaceutical giant GlaxoSmithKline recently purchased a 300 million shares in 23andme. This is an article from 2019, as it says here, and they signed also a 4-year agreement to leverage the genetic insights for the development of novel medicines, research and development of innovative new medicines and potential cures, using human genetics as the basis for these discoveries. So here they are. And guess what? There's nowhere on the site of 23andme telling you that they have this agreement that people are going to be looking at, or as a pharmaceutical company, looking at your DNA to see what they can unfold and uncover and come back with, and whatever this is. Listen, none of us are drug deficient. You know, we are not drug deficient. We are not even coffee deficient, if we want to go there. So in this case, just look up this information. I mean, if there's a couple links here, so I'll actually put a couple links below. And yeah, that's it for today. There's many more things out there to talk about, and I try to make a list of a few things. And you might have some interesting subjects too that you want me to kind of research and look up. But ideally, we're into the side of prevention, but I would say first and foremost, be into questioning and understanding how our body works. That if it isn't real food, quite often, from a nutritional standpoint, these medicines and drugs are not being tested in the combinations that they need to be tested in, because quite frankly, the average person is taking not 3, not 4, probably 5 or 6 medications. People that I know in my age group and that kind of thing, their doctors are saying, what medications are you on? And they're saying, we're not on anything. And they're going, what? It's like a complete shock or surprise to people when there are people that are not on medications these days. So we don't know what all these medications are doing. We don't know. They don't know. Research doesn't know. Try and research. Okay, I'm on cholesterol-lowering and drugs, high blood pressure drugs, and see if you can find research. If you can find research, that'd be great. We'll post it, we'll talk about it. But my understanding is there's really no research being done on all this stuff, and they all have side effects. So once again, look up the side effects if you're on any medications, or they want to put you on any medications. Ask them, what are the side effects? What are the side effects? I hear from specialists, they can't tell you that you're going to live any longer doing these medications. They can't tell you that. So why are we taking all these medications? Diabetes, blood sugar, absolutely, there are certain things, and there are certain medications. I can't tell you to stop your medications. No practitioner outside a medical doctor, specialist, that kind of thing, can tell you to can tell you to come off your medications. So you've got to be your own doctor, right? You got to be your own doctor. So I'm going to sign off. I want to, can you look into ulcers? I had a preferred one last year and continue to get more of them. Laura, okay, I'm going to address this right now, because ulcers is one of the stages of disease. So if there are, from my research, stages of disease, ulcers are something that can happen anywhere in the body. I'm not sure, Laura, exactly where your ulcers are. If are they in the stomach? We can have skin ulcers. We can have feet ulcers when we think of diabetics. So ulcers can happen anywhere in the body. The idea with ulcers is the body is trying to get out, I'm just going to say toxins for simplicity, let's say waste. And the body's trying to get out this waste. So If the usual elimination channels are not working, and we do have nutritional deficiencies going on here as well, then the body is forced to get it out any which way, shape, or form. So let's just say the waste products are being accumulated in the stomach. Let's say the waste products are being accumulated in the stomach, okay? Then those waste products, the body will inevitably try to push them out through ulcers. Does that make sense? That's what they will do. The ulcers, if the ulcers are in the skin, there's a buildup of waste in the skin, and it will produce, now it may come through the blood, it may coming through the blood and out through the skin, but that's the way the body would operate. It would absolutely try to push the waste, because you got to think about every cell in our body is got waste. You can just say one right off the top, metabolic waste. So as we're producing energy, which cells all have to have their own energy, that metabolic waste in itself is waste. And if our body does not have the ability to get rid of the waste through all the various channels it has, and there's a buildup there, the body can generate ulcers no matter where it is in the body. Stomach, there's got to be some not integrity in the stomach, first and foremost, a buildup of waste, a holding on to. So we got to think of tissues as well in other respects. And so I'm just touching the surface on ulcers, but the idea is it's trying to get something out, and that tissues will open up to try to get something out. Let me just bring that back to cardiovascular system, splitting of the arteries. Okay, splitting of the arteries. Maybe some of you have an understanding that toxicity is circulating in the blood. Maybe it's trying to actually get out, and maybe it can't get out. So now we have this circulation in the blood that still needs to get out through either lymphatic, kidney, so forth. And this is interfering. Think of free radicals as be it that word, which is in itself things that are coming into the body, and they'll interfere on the membranes of the arteries. So what happens is they start pitting the arteries, making them non-triggering. Of course, the body has to lay down cholesterol to help smooth out the area so things can keep flowing. So cholesterol is not the bad person. It's, different levels of cholesterol here can absolutely bring you to an understanding that something's going on, but it ain't the cholesterol. So when we have that integrity of the wall being let's say external toxins as well as internal, then what happens is it starts splitting. It starts splitting, and for some, this splitting continues. If you lower your cholesterol, you don't have enough cholesterol in your body to actually line the arteries enough, and then aneurysms and those kind of things can absolutely happen. So, ulcers are something one should look at for sure. That's a symptom. That's a symptom. It's not the cause. The cause could be different things for different people. Many people can have ulcers, but the cause can be different things for different people. But there are things that can help have people understand, going, yeah, okay, that's me. Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm not doing that. That relates to me. And they can start to narrow down where it is for you. So Laura, I hope that was informative. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming on. So we covered coffee, we covered aspirin, we covered your feet, and there's a little bit of a challenge there. Look at your feet. Take a good look at your feet. And then thank you, Laura, for bringing up on ulcers. Happy to speak about that. And I wish everybody the best of health. Have a great week. Until next week, live at 5. I'll put the link down for YouTube down below. Really, that link is going to be where all of these videos are going to reside. It will be then really easy for, if you've missed any, want to go back and see some of them, then you can. And subscribe while you're there. That'd be much appreciated. Other than that, have an awesome week, and we will see you next Monday. Thanks for coming on, everyone. Bye for now.